long time ago, my grandfather, Harry John Score, fired up my imagination and instilled in me a deep love for history with countless stories of his past. Now, I am a grandfather with stories of my own to share with my granddaughter Hannah. Oh, and now with the help of the World Wide Web, I can share them with you. Simple little tales of life from years and years ago. While I was growing up on the farm years and years ago, my father would occasionally come out with some inspiring one-liner gems of wisdom. My brothers and I were impressed with the idea our old man was such a worldly philosopher. Of course, in later years, as our worldly education grew, we eventually learned most, if not all, of these witticisms were not of his authorship, nor were they quite all that world-shaking in content. However, to young innocent farm boys, they certainly got our attention, and once in a while we did learn from them. My older brothers and I were normally a shy bunch. When strangers or company came around, we would quickly clamp up or just plain run and hide somewhere. The one exception was baby brother Kip, who wasn't afraid of anyone or anything and would talk a blue streak to anyone who happened by. On rare occasions, the rest of us would warm up to some visitor and start talking. Sometimes we'd talk too much. That's when our father would pull us aside and we heard the first gem that I remember. Not everyone needs to know everything you know. My all-time favorite was, if you have a good thing going, keep your mouth shut. From that, I learned that bragging about yourself wasn't always a good thing in a world where too many were ready and able to run off with your gold if they knew you had it and there was a chance they could get their hands on it. There were many, many more of these supposed homespun bursts of genius over the years. Many are now lost to my slowly fading ancient memory, and many are just too inappropriate for mixed company. And as the years rolled on, some of them just didn't measure up to that world-shaking level, like, once you get past 60, the rest is gravy, or you're dead a lot longer than you're alive. Ugh. Now, there is one that I remember the most, and actually, it wasn't really a witticism at all. It was a rhetorical question. When it came to livestock, animals in general, my father was a bona fide wheeler-dealer. Over the years, every non-exotic animal you could imagine came up the driveway and lived for a spell on a Score family farm. Cows, bulls, steers, horses, ponies, pigs, sheep, goats, rabbits, coonhounds, beagles, and a wide assortment of other dog breeds made their home with us, but not always for long. Being the wheeler-dealer he was, he would trade them back and forth like a kid would trade baseball cards. His deals would be so numerous and so often that a neighbor once warned my brothers and I to eat our meals quickly because, who knew, we could be traded off at any moment as well. Well, I believe it was around the time I was 8 when one of my father's deals included a donkey. There wasn't anything extraordinary about this donkey. Wasn't much you could do with a donkey, at least not just one donkey. I don't remember how long we had him, and I don't remember his name, or even if we ever gave him a name. But there was one thing about him I'll never forget as long as I live. He bit. How I found that out was not one of the finer moments of my youth. One of the jobs we first got as young farm kids was feeding young calves when they were first weaned from their mothers. To do that, we would mix up a special formula in a special bucket with a phony nipple attached to the bottom. Sometimes a calf wouldn't understand what it was supposed to do with that nipple, and the trick was to stick a finger or two in its mouth. Most of the time the calf would get the idea, then we would quickly pull out our fingers and stick in the phony nipple. If you never stuck your fingers in a calf's mouth, believe me, it's not a sensation I'm comfortable describing. All I'll say is their baby teeth are not an issue. Not so with an adult donkey. And in the curious and most unwise moment when I stuck my fingers in his mouth, I found that out as I got an instant lesson in pain and humility. The louder I screamed and the harder I tried to pull my fingers out, the harder that donkey clamped down. He wasn't that big a donkey, but I wasn't that big a kid. There was no way I could get my fingers out, and there was no way he was going to let go. Fortunately, the old man was within shouting and running distance, and arrived on the scene before the donkey had a chance to bite my fingers off. Aside from his wealth of witticisms, my old man also had a voice of unlimited volume and a host of intimidating intonations. He could scare the wicked witch of the West into submission. With one short blast of his vocal cords, he had the donkey seeing the error of his ways and me seeing my fingers again. And then I heard his words loudly and most emphatically. And I've heard his voice echo these same words through the many years since, whenever I found myself doing something stupid. What in hell were you thinking? And that was years and years ago.